Are you ready for warmer weather? Are you ready to get out and do some barbecuing, having some get-togethers, some little parties? Well, I know I am. Hi there. I'm Jackie with Jackie Russell Creates, where we talk about everything quilting. I hope I can inspire you to make traditional quilts, art quilts, wall hangings, and so much more. If this is your first time here, welcome. Be sure to give the video a thumbs up if you like it, and a comment in the section of what you're looking forward to barbecuing this summer. I know my favorite is some ribs and some barbecue cream cheese. So today we're going to make this utensil holder slash hot pad slash mug rug that you can be able to give to your guest at your barbecue. You can put your utensils in here, then they can sit on the table to put their cups on, or they can lay their utensils on it so it don't get on the table. So many uses for this simple project. It is pocketed, so that makes it nice. I used a 7-inch block that I created for this one, but the one we're going to demonstrate today is just going to have a solid piece right here. It is quilted. This is quilted, the pocket's quilted, and then the back is quilted. It does have a hanger, so they can hang it up on the wall and be able to have it at arm's length. It's very simple of what you need, not very much. You can make it with three fat quarters, maybe 4 fat quarters. So it's a great scrap buster if you have scrap. So let's get started. I'm going to put the camera down so you can see the project and as I put it together. So this is basically all you're going to need. You're going to need some fabric that's cut 2.5 by 44 inches. You're going to have to piece together. This is for the binding. Then you're going to need another little piece. It is 1.5 by 4.5. All I did was fold it in half, fold the pieces in, the edges in, and folded it again, and we're going to finish that later. If you're going to make a block like this, you'll need your 7.25 inch unfinished block that will measure 7 inches when done, or you're going to need a 7.25 piece of fabric. You're going to need another piece for the lining. That is 7.25 square. Then you're going to need another piece that's 7.25 by 10.5, and then another lining piece that is 7.25 by 10.5. You're also going to need some batting. Because I'm making this a hot pad, I'm using Utensil Bright. You're going to need a piece that's 7.25 square, and then you're going to need another piece that is 7.25 by 10.5. I will have a link to the pattern in the description below so you can have all of the measurements. So let's get started. You're also going to need some wonder clips, some snippets, and maybe some pins, depending on how you're going to put it together. The first thing you're going to do is you're going to take your lining to your 7.25 squares. You're going to put the lining down, face down. You can make this any color you want. It's very not going to be seen unless they're actually looking down inside the hot pad. And then we're going to put the other piece right on top. Now this is where you can use wonder clips or you can use straight pins. I'm just going to throw some wonder clips on here. And I'm going to go all the way around, making sure it's all lined up. And then we're going to quilt this. But we're also going to do a stitch, a 1/4 inch stitch around the outside, or 1/8 of an inch stitch. What you're wanting to do is you want to be able to hold these edges down, because you're going to be going through several layers by the time we're done. Well, 6 layers. You have, these 3 and then the other 3. And you want to make sure you're catching every piece of fabric. So I like to just sew around the outside about 1/8 of a stitch, 1/8 of an inch. And then you have your quilting. The quilting, you can quilt it however you want. I'm going to just do some zigzag stitches along one side, and then I'm going to rotate it and do some wavy stitches, about 3 of them, 2 on each side, breaking it up into 9 sections. That's how I'm going to quilt it, and then just a regular straight stitch around the side. There you can see the wavy lines. Now we're going to do the same thing for the bigger pieces. You're going to take your back piece, lay it face down, lay your batting on top, and then pin it. And you're going to quilt this one however you want to quilt it. You can quilt it the same as you did the small pocket one. You can do it different. You can do free motion, whatever you prefer. And then once again, you're going to stitch around the outside, making sure we get every layer. You can also do a zigzag stitch, anything to hold these edges together for when we get to the next couple steps. So I'm going to go to the sewing machine and quilt this, and then we'll be back to work on the rest. Okay, we're back. I just did a checkered board. I went up and down one side, then turned and went the other side. Very simple. Now we're going to take a 7-inch of our binding strip. It's going to be 7 inches. We're going to take it, see how I want this? I think I want it like that. So we're going to take it, we're going to fold it in half, raw edges together, and you're going to clip it to the top of your small block. So we can bind this top edge right here. We're binding that. So you have your raw edges up against the raw edges. You're going to sew down the edge a 1/4 inch. I just have a little overhang here, so I'm trimming it off so it's easier to see and sew. Okay, much better. So you're going to do a 1/4 inch. I like to press. Once I have my 1/4 inch, I like to press this open along the seam, and that just helps when I go to fold it over to the back. It makes it a little crisper edge. So we're going to sew across here, and I'm going to press it open. Okay, so I have it pressed upwards, and now we're just going to flip it and wrap it around to the back, and we're going to pin it again. It just holds it down. And I forgot to mention earlier, but when I do my binding, I do go back a couple stitches to lock them down on the ends. Now you could do a decorative stitch here, but I'm going to stitch in the ditch right along that edge, and it will catch the fabric in the back. So now that top pocket is binded. It's kind of hard to see, but it has attached in the back. Now we're going to bind the whole piece together. So you're going to line up. I'm just checking to see which way I wanted them to go. You're going to line up your corners, and because we stitch these, it's going to be easier to bind. If you're using a thicker batting like I used here, you'll want to take an extra stitch or step, and that is to stitch along these edges before we bind. But I think we're okay with just using the Wonder Bright. So we're going to take our binding and we're going to fold it in half. And then I like to take the corner and fold it down so it creates this little triangle. I know it's hard to see on this green fabric, but it's going to create a little triangle, and I'm going to put it raw edges to raw edges, and I start at the center bottom, and we're going to pin. So then we're just going to bind this quilt, or well, it's a mini quilt I guess, just to the corner. We're going to do a couple back stitches here and a couple back stitches here. We're going to cut it here, and we'll come back and do our miter corner. Okay, so to do our corner, we're going to lift it up. So you have a 45-degree here, and then you're going to bring it right down this side. Lining up the edges, we're going to pin at that corner, and then just add some more clips all the way down, lining up all the edges. We're going to come to this next corner. We're going to stitch a 1/4 inch from the edge, and then come back and do the miter and add our hanger. But for the hanger, it is 1.5 by 4.5. You fold it in half and fold in the edges. Before I stitch this, I'm going to stitch down the strip to keep it closed. And then I am going to go down the other side just to give it a finished look. Okay, so here is our loop. We'll just trim off those edges. I just stitched down one side and down the other. So we're going to do this corner the same as we did the other one. We're going to bring it up to a 45, bring it right down so it lines up with that edge. I'm going to pin right at the edge, and then I'm going to take the loop, fold it in half and place it about an inch and a half from the edge underneath the binding. So it's between this red fabric and our binding, and I'm going to clip that so that stays in place. And we're going to go down to the other corner, making sure to get all the edges. We're going to go back to the sewing machine and sew, and I will come back once we're ready to flip it over. Okay, so now we're ready to flip it over. We're just going to flip him, and we're going to pin it so we can stitch in the ditch once again. So I like to start here at the seam where we started, and we're just going to flip it over and use the Wonder clips. I'm going to clip it near the corner on each side and at the corner to hold it all in place. When you get to the loop, you want to make sure that the loop stays down. You can pin it down if you would like. I just watch to make sure it stays down, or you can hold it up and then stitch right underneath it. And on the corners, I'm just making sure I bring one side in, and then I make sure the other one comes over to give that mitered look on the back that matches the miter look on the front. Okay, I'm going to take it to the machine and stitch in the ditch all the way around. And there we have it, a cute little utensil holder, mug rug, hot pad to use for your next barbecue, picnic, or just a get together with a bunch of friends. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and comment below what you liked about the video or what you're looking forward to barbecuing this summer. If you would like to stick around, please hit the subscribe button and the notification bell to know the next time that I post a video. Until then, happy quilting, my friends.